Wait.
Vexillology.
Ve- Vexillology.
So I do have some follow up, or do we want to? Do we have a big opener? How was your weekend, Paul?
Oh, my weekend was good. Some time with the girlfriend. I was kind of. What did I do? Oh, this is a thing. So we went and saw 8th Grade. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, I saw that like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, you saw it?
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah. It was, yeah, that's all I can say. It was just like, it's not even like a movie. It's pretty much just like, it feels like Bo Burnham just followed around an 8th grader without their knowledge, because that's just like how realistic it is.
Yeah, for those that don't know, Bo Burnham, he's a stand-up comedian. He started on YouTube, and he wrote and directed a short, not a short, but it was small, I guess, when he first made it, film called 8th Grade, it kind of follows the life of an 8th grader. And she kind of like has this persona online. She's also a YouTuber. She's like not very popular, but she kind of exudes this confidence online. And then when they follow her like through school, she's very shy and kind of, she's just like a shy person and doesn't have a lot of friends and things like that. And it just talks about like the difference between real life and online, and it like really magnifies like just different parts of being an 8th grader. Some parts are really cringy, some parts are don't matter so much, but it seems like the world, and he does a really good job at like portraying that emotion or making the audience feel that emotion. But I don't know, what did you think of it?
I liked it a lot. I almost just like, I don't have anything really even to go into in too much detail. I think it was just really well done. Great for the first kind of film experience that Bo's had. And yeah, personally, 8th grade for me actually was like, I feel like I pretty much peaked in 8th grade. That was a great year. I had great teachers and like,
yeah.
So personally, like, it doesn't resonate specifically with 8th grade for me, but there's definitely been other times where I've kind of, just felt like that. And even, like, we're kind of throwing content out there right now that doesn't have like a ludicrous amount of listeners. So yeah, it hits home and it's just very well done. So
yeah, same here. School in general was I liked school a lot. Middle school, high school, but it's just really interesting. I don't know. It was just well done, like you said.
Can I ask you how did you like college compared to high school?
I liked college a lot. So high school, like middle school, high school was like, I guess I peaked in high school because, I don't know, like captain of the football team. Like I was friends with almost everybody. I didn't really have any enemies or anything like that, I was like kind of, like I was part of a lot of different groups, and sometimes like the different groups even didn't like each other, but somehow I managed to like not like stay out of all like the drama parts. I don't know. High school was great. High school was a lot of fun. College though was fun in a different way. Like I didn't make a ton of friends in college. I was very focused on school. I made like a few friends, some that I'm still friends with, but most of my friends are from high school. College was like just work basically for me. Like I was going to school full time, I was working full time, sleeping, and then doing it again.
Yeah, I liked high school a lot, and we don't have to get too much into it. I got through college and it was fine, I guess. And I met a lot of like key people that are still really important in my life. But I don't know. The contrast of like a high school environment where you like, the teachers, everyone in your class is around you. It just really worked for me. And especially I liked kind of like school was just like, oh, you have to be here. And, like you have to submit this assignment kind of thing. And there's not even like ridiculous expectations. And almost because there weren't great expectations, it was easier to do really, really well. or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just like that kind of constant interaction, and for like a full, 5 days a week, like a full day together with people. Compared to like college, it was like, well, you can pick your own classes and you got these giant breaks in it, and I liked it, and I didn't really go too far out of my way to like make it feel like high school.
Yeah.
When probably I bet I should have, but it's just so hard to do when you have that freedom. So I don't know. I wasn't the biggest fan, but I guess it was okay.
Yeah, I really liked the like independence of college. I grew the most in college, just like personally, as far as like the difference between, which is probably the case for most people, but the difference between like freshman and senior high school me and the difference between like freshman and senior college me is like I changed probably like orders of magnitude more in college than I did in high school, just like as far as like who I am now. So I like college more for that. High school was just like the schoolwork was so easy. I was just doing lots of like after school stuff, so high school was just like pure fun basically, whereas college was pure work.
You had some, I think, follow-up.
Yeah, so I'll keep this short because I don't know who even really cares about this, but I've been making progress on my home screen.
I care, Gil.
So I found a new cryptocurrency app to follow since my other one was a black background with an orange icon. So that gave me a new white background. I moved Do out of the dock and into like the main screen because Do was in my dock before, but it has a white background, so it fits better up there. And I moved Overcast into the dock. And then I moved Instapaper into a folder just because it had like a textured background that I wasn't a big fan of.
Can I take a look at this?
Yeah, so I'm sending you a picture now, and let me know, does any of these icons or stand out to you as especially ugly?
Okay, so we are on the white.
Oh yeah, and I changed to a white background that kind of hides the folders and also hides the dock. Here's
a question. Did you use a special one that, like, is this just white, or did you go find one of those ones that's like weird and almost kind of hacks the... Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes. So this is just white, but if you put it on perspective mode and not still, I think the other option is, it turns folders and the dock just white.
Okay, so this is just regular white. I didn't realize that you could get the dock. I thought it always had a look, like it looked like it was imposed because it would adapt to, like it knew if it was against all white. And so the one that I'm using kind of like tricks the phone in some way, I think, because it's like technically a picture, like a white rectangle surrounded by black.
Yeah. If I like put it in still mode, I can still see the folders and dock. So it's something about the perspective mode. Maybe it's a glitch. Maybe it's like that on purpose, but something about perspective mode does all that for me.
Okay. Well, I would say, I mean, I don't know how you feel about this, but well. Yeah, I mean, the ones that have a border stand out a little bit, which is the body weight and the transit and Reddit. But
okay,
yeah, you can only do so much about that.
The answer I was looking for was the body weight app, and I have updates on what I'm doing about that.
Okay.
So the body weight, this is just like a workout app, like a tells you like the routine to do or whatever with all the progressions. It's like the Reddit recommended routine or whatever. But there's like an ellipses. How do you pronounce
that's bothersome.
At the end, and it's driving me nuts. And then the icon is just ugly. There are like shadows and gradients, and it's just like not a great color.
It's like a chopped off hand.
Yeah, and it's the app overall is just, or the app icon overall is just not great, which is fine. Somebody just kind of whipped it together for fun on Reddit, but I found out that it's open source. So yesterday I downloaded this from GitHub, and so I'm working on editing it. I had to like update Ruby and install CocoaPods and all this. I haven't done it on this laptop yet. So yesterday was like a lot of preparation work, but so I have like a preliminary icon. I can send you that too. And I don't know if these are the final colors I'm going to go for, but it's just very simple. Basically, the same icon, just like colored differently. That I'll end up replacing that with.
Yeah, I mean, you should just send that to them because like it has like an iOS kind of feel to it because a lot of their apps have gradients, and so just why isn't it using that?
Yeah, it's like a green and a blue, like somewhat close to each other that gradients diagonally across the icon, and it's kind of inverted so that the color is in the hand and the background is white.
Yeah.
And then
You know what?
obviously I'll update the icon or the app name so that it actually fits without the ellipses.
I love that I've never. Well, I mean, I guess there's some open source apps, but this is the first I've heard of like modifying it and deploying it on your own phone just for the custom icon.
Yeah. So that'll leave me with just Transit and Reddit left. Reddit, I feel like I could see that having like multiple app icons in the next year or so. Maps is probably going to be some variation of that forever, and then Transit's never going to change either. But once I update this app, like my workout app, I think I'll be pretty happy because I'm pretty sure I'm sticking with the native Reddit app. But I don't know. This is where it is right now, though, and I'm getting close to liking it.
You're always gonna have the core problem here is you're like, oh, this app is great, I want it to be on my home screen, and then you're like, nope, and you start to make decisions like I feel like maybe you want Do down in the wherever it was before.
I do, yeah.
But you just like, it looks okay up there, and that's fine. And I don't know. I don't know if that's the priorities to be making, even though it does look sick.
Yeah, it's like I'm trying to like weigh the good and the bad. If I end up using it for a week and not liking it, I'll change it back and try and come up with something else because it doesn't look awful with Overcast out there. Mm-hmm. Especially with Reddit being there. There's a way that I could balance that, like maybe in the middle or something. I don't know. But it wouldn't be awful having Overcast out. But I'm just trying it out, keeping Do. Because I used Do and Overcast about the same amounts, and before Overcast was out of the dock. So I feel like I would be okay with it. I'm sure I'll find out.
It's a shame you can't. I mean, Overcast looks like maybe if it were inverted, you would have just some kind of circle that's surrounded by white. And then that'd look pretty good. But
yeah, even just like the same exact thing without the orange, like don't invert anything else, but just get rid of the orange border.
Yeah,
would be fine. But we'll see. But yeah, I'm liking it so far.
And the one other thing I'd say is with this icon, at the how it's just like a chopped off hand up there. If it just had curvature, like when it's like the wrist connects to the hand there, like just repeat that up at the top. I think that might look weird, but I feel like maybe it'd look all right. And I mean, I know you just like recolored the current icon at the moment, but
yeah,
might be a nice touch too.
Yeah, that's a good idea, or at least add another. So you see how like the thumb it's not rounded, but it has like another break in it. Like maybe just adding like one other break to the first third, so it kind of goes up and then down, just to match that same style of the fingers. But yeah, I can play around with that.
All right, looking clean, Gil. I have a bit. Well, yeah. Let's discuss very brief. But two very minor things have been updated across. I guess this is just a segment, right? We talk about minor changes to apps, and that is one. Reddit has now. I don't know if you know because you just kind of switch to it, but they used to have a magnifying glass as the second bottom tab.
Oh yeah,
and it has since, well, very recently, it was replaced with like some little shapes, I guess, and I don't know if they called it this before, but I think now it's the home. I think they call it home tab or something like that. And rightfully so, because that is where your subscriptions are. And I've found myself in the past like clicking or tapping randomly trying to find my subscriptions because like it's not intuitive that it's in the magnifying glass. So I guess I appreciate that. The icons that they have there now are kind of like a little weird for me, but I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I really want to be able to customize this in some way because I do not want this chat thing always being here with a red dot on it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, that's the next frontier, right? You get the home screen down, and then you've got to figure out ways to like modify the apps themselves, which is a losing battle.
But they're making changes, so that's always good. They'll get feedback, and as long as they're continuing to iterate on it, I feel like Reddit's semi-good at listening to the users. We'll see.
Do you think that update... Well, okay, let me talk about the other one, and then I'll ask you a question. So the other thing that is extremely minor is that Facebook has, I guess maybe in the last week or so, updated their bottom tabs. And the only difference, as far as I can tell, is that they are colored now when you click on them. So it adds color, and like if you click on the little bell, it's now like a little golden bell, like brass. Very minor. And then the other thing that may have been at the same time, I'm not completely sure, is that they have now like given me a little notification. In my notifications, it now says like, we have like automatically turned off group notifications or something like that. And I think I had literally every group notification already turned off, because having them on is just insanity. Even just highlights, it's like, you know, you get like a dozen different notifications just from random people posting, and I can't imagine anyone that liked that. So I understand why Facebook did that. It didn't really help me, and it actually confused me a lot, because I already had them all off, and I was like, wait, did you just like algorithmically turn some of them back on because you thought it was better for me or something? But as far as I can tell, I think they're still all off for me.
Okay. That's good. I have Messenger on my phone just because I wind up in this situation where I'm like I'm in a boosted board group and like some other small groups.
Mm-hmm.
But I just have notifications turned off for the whole app, like in the Apple settings, not in the Messenger settings. And every time I log in, it says, make sure you turn on notifications. And it's like just really annoying every time I log into Messenger.
Yeah. Messenger and log into other things online are the two kind of like, you know, really useful things that, I mean, keep me from just never looking at Facebook. I mean, I do look at it just for like occasionally to search someone or something, but like if I ever think like, oh, I could shut down my Facebook altogether, I'm like, Messenger chat is occasionally very useful, and so is logging into apps without having to type, basically.
Yeah. I still, like, I log in. That's basically what I use Facebook for, is just for logging into other things that don't offer Google login.
Yeah. Oh, it feels like I'm selling my soul when I do that. I just like, I know you're going to get my email and like information about me, but like it means I don't have to type my email. So I'm going to click the Facebook button, which is going to send me to Facebook or like a web browser. Then I click and then it sends me to Facebook. Then I click, then it sends me back to the app. And it's like the most convoluted process possible, but it's still worth it instead of having to like sit there and type in an email address and password.
Yeah. That's like one of my favorite things about Face ID and the new, like in the iPhone 10, is that like, before when you're like logging onto websites and stuff, moving your finger over, your thumb over, like, you know, a couple millimeters isn't like a big deal, but you don't really have to do anything. You're just like looking at the phone and it just like authenticates. Like when you're logging into like websites or whatever.
Yeah. For the longest time, and actually, no, I don't think we're here yet, but it always has surprised me. So why doesn't Apple have their own, you know, version of this Facebook login thing? Like, I'm almost shocked that Facebook is able to somehow make that work, because it feels like Apple would, you know, either not be enabling it, so they kind of got lucky that they were able to implement it, but then also it almost feels like Apple would want to break that, and I'm surprised that Apple hasn't. So
yeah, they need to put a better front end onto a keychain so that we could use it for more things. Like the way that I maintain 1Password, I would like to be able to do that in an easy way for a keychain, which then they would have to make a Windows version and things like that. But I feel like I trust Apple more with like security stuff than most companies.
But I'm saying, like, if I wanted to go to a new app that I haven't ever used, and you know how I think it's like, I don't have a number on this, but it's probably a ridiculous number.
You're just looking for like login with iTunes.
Yeah, where people download the app and they hit the thing and it says you got to put your email in, and then they leave the app and never look at it again. And it's really surprising to me that there isn't like login with your Apple ID. Unless there is and I'm forgetting. I don't remember. I don't think so. Maybe.
No, it all routes through Keychain. There's nothing that logs in that takes you to iTunes, like gives you some token and then logs you in to whatever website.
If Apple wanted to implement it, they wouldn't even have to like whisk you away because they have the whole operating system. So you really could make it just like sign in with Apple and you tap and then maybe it does like a Face ID just to confirm or something. And then there you go, like you're in. And I think that
but
would
then
just
you
be
have
like,
to support Windows and Android, all versions of Android, and you have to go through like all of that, like fragmentation that they try to stay away from.
Why would they have to do that?
So because I guess if they did it through the browser in other areas, but they would have to kind of the same way Facebook does, to where they have to like they could use something native in the operating system where you're like logged in like your settings, or it can just like route you to a browser and then send you back to the app using some like deep link or whatever.
No, but I'm saying like Apple owns the whole operating system, so they could do all that in the background and it would look like just, say I download it and like I was trying to get an auction app the other day and half of them had like sign up things, so I just deleted them immediately. I'm saying even if I've never seen this before, I could just like open the app and instead of email or whatever, I would just hit like, use Apple ID to log in basically, and it would do what the Facebook button does, but seamlessly.
Yeah. Well, it would work like that on Apple devices, but you can't like have your email that you can only open on Apple devices. Like if you're logging in with something and that's the only authentication, it needs to also work everywhere else.
No, but I think like if I use the Facebook button, I'm pretty sure it uses my Facebook email and I guess my Facebook password, and I could then go to that service and just log in with my Facebook email and password, right? I'm pretty sure that's what it does. No?
No, you're logging in. It's like pinging Facebook servers and sending back as like some authentication token. It's not like creating a login, like an email address, and it's not like duplicating your email address and password to that website.
Okay, but that website does get my email address. Maybe not the password, but it at least in theory could work, right?
No, because you can't request the password from Facebook. Like Facebook won't send anybody your password. So it's just sending a token back. So there's no way for it to like duplicate your login information into another person's database and then say...
Could Apple not send just the, the hash of the password to the app that's requesting it, since they control the App Store, and in theory malicious things aren't getting in?
No, I don't think that it works like that. Like nobody does that. It's just sending some token back. You're not sending hashes of passwords or any sort of, because if you're sending the hash of the password, then by definition the other person has to have whatever the encryption is so that they know what it actually is, and then that would make the whole thing useless.
No, the other person wouldn't need to have the hash, or they wouldn't need to have the original password. They would just, when I go to log in with whatever this third-party app thing was, except on my, like on the web client, I just type in what my password for Facebook or for Apple ID is, and then it would, just, is the hash of this thing that he typed in the same as the hash of the thing that we have in record from what Apple sent to us? It would work, but I get that probably is not like the greatest security move ever. I just think maybe like eventually Apple could somehow figure out possibly a way to make that work.
Yeah. I'm sure that they could. They would just have to implement it the same way like a Facebook does. And then it would be seamless on iOS devices, but maybe other devices have to route through a browser or something.
Yeah. Well, anyway, the question I was going to ask, I was going to say, with the Reddit notification, or not notification, with the Reddit icon that is now, just a different shape, basically. And Facebook literally just changed it so that it's colored when you tap on it. How many people do you think, approved that? Or was it, just, a small team or even maybe just one person that was like, this would look better if it were colored when you tapped on it?
Oh, I don't think it has anything to do with looking better. I think they probably A/B tested it versus 1,000 other options, and then that was the one that performed the best, so they rolled it out to a larger percentage of the users. Maybe people are checking, their newsfeed or their messages more often now that it's colored. So now they switched it from testing over to what it is. I don't think it was purely a design thing. I think it was usability.
So you think that there is some, because it's not like it actually helps you, because the only thing it would do is indicate to you where you are currently, so that you don't accidentally tap the section that you're on, and then if you were in the feed and then you tapped on the feed thing because you thought you were somewhere else or something, then it would take you to the top of the feed, right? So it's not like,
yeah,
I'm struggling to think how that would affect usability other than just looking a little bit better. But you don't think this is just on a whim and that it has some deep meaning that lots of people were involved with?
No, I'm sure lots of people were involved, but I don't think it was a decision that was made and then it was implemented. I think that it was, these are our 10 options. Let's test them out. Let's take 10% of Facebook users and we'll split up these 5 options between them. And whichever one, performs best on X KPI, on X thing that we want them to do, we'll use that one for the rest of the people.
Yeah, maybe it's not everywhere yet, is the other possibility.
Yeah, maybe it is just being tested, and you're just part of that, 2%.
Part of the club. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Do you think that they rolled out the, those tap and hold kind of emojis that there are now? React emojis?
No, is this a Facebook thing, or is this wider?
Yeah, it's Facebook. How you always were able to like something, but now you can angry react and things like that.
Oh, that. Yeah.
Do you think that rolled out to some people beforehand?
I would say definitely yes. I think, I don't know. I feel like I remember hearing about that. It was probably a much, I'm sure they did focus groups where they brought people in. They did that 100 times, and then they gave it to some trusted beta testing group that they have that's outside of Facebook. And then eventually tested it wider than that. But that was a pretty big change. So I don't think that's something they would just toss out to the public, even if it is a few percent. But I'm sure that went through 6 months of heavy testing. I'm sure the whole thing was very expensive.
That's so sad.
Because that kind of gets to a place where you could offend lots of people if you have the wrong face that could be used in a way that you don't want it to be used. I don't know. I don't have an example of what that would be, but I'm sure that there are millions of those examples to where oh, we could do this face, but if people use it in this way, it'd be awful. So we have to make sure we're very selective about the emotions and faces and everything that we're choosing.
Okay, I got one more for you. You know how the little hamburger emoji, I think on Google, Google's hamburger emoji had, what was it? The lettuce was in the wrong place, and I think the cheese was underneath the burger or something ridiculous. Now I'm sure, well, I don't know. That really feels to me like something that somebody sent an email to the design department, was make the hamburger look like a more normal hamburger, and then they did that, and then they were basically ready to go. Do you think surely they didn't run that by dozens of people? They just made it look a little more like a hamburger.
I'm not familiar with the hamburger that you're talking about for Google. This is kind of what Reddit did, where they had the hamburger menu icon, a hamburger.
No, a literal hamburger emoji.
Yeah. Oh, it was the hamburger emoji.
Yeah, it was just all messed up because it looked slightly off. And then the other one was that the beer emoji had froth at the top of it, but it was a half drunken beer. So there was froth above it before there was actual.
Yeah.
It just didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So I just wonder if that was a memo between a couple people, or did that have to go through some absurd approval process just to confirm that it was like, I don't know, didn't somehow subliminally look like some kind of offensive thing.
Yeah. I'm just like guessing when I answer all these things. So I really have no idea. But my assumption is like something, for whatever reason, I get the feeling that the emoji process isn't super stringent. So I have no idea. That was probably just like a designer, and then like it got approved by their boss. So they're like, all right, push it out.
I wonder if there's someone that is like their specific job title is the emojis.
Yeah, that sounds like a great job. Just like, I've been really stuck on this taco emoji for 6 months, but it launches in 3 weeks. I gotta get it done.
Just doodling, iterating through like millions of taco emojis and like trivial things.
Yeah, I think that'll be the title of this episode, just taco emoji.
That's good. That's good.
We apparently both have this Elon Musk interview on our list. Do we want to talk about that at all?
Okay, so MKBHD, who is like a noted YouTube tech and gear review / enthusiast guy. It's been on the books, I think, for a little bit, but he sat down with Elon Musk. I think it was the Gigafactory. Not 100% sure. But yeah, they just had pretty much like a 15-minute conversation, largely about Tesla, and it was I don't know, a couple things worth mentioning. One, it was like like almost kind of awkward and weird. Like, I don't know, MKBHD, like I felt a little bit of like fanboy coming off of him with like the questions he was asking and things. It was kind of an awkward, goofy thing. But
yeah, I think interviewing in general is new to him. Like, he does lots of like tech review stuff by himself, and then all of a sudden he's in the middle of like, he's like with, you know, one of his idols, when it's maybe his like third interview he's ever done.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I hold Elon in high regard, but you know, I just consider MKBHD to be like such a professional, top tier kind of YouTube person, and it's funny to see him kind of like humbled a bit in that.
Yeah, even like seeing, I don't know, it was just crazy to me that Elon Musk like agreed to that, which MKBHD is, he's a big YouTuber. He's like the, like you said, the biggest like tech review channel. But still, for Elon Musk to accept that and like take an hour of his time to talk to, because did you see the like factory tour too?
No, it's in my queue here because it just came out like 2 hours ago or something, right?
Yeah, I just watched that like on the bus on the way home, but it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just talks a lot about like the difference between what like humans are good at and what robots are good at. Talks about where some like inefficiencies are in the factory. Like, there are robots that hand to another robot that its only job is to hand it to another robot, and like why don't the like beginning and end robots just hand it to each other? But I don't know, it's really cool seeing the factory, seeing like all those different things. Talks a little bit about like what we were talking about, or like the difference between like smart robots and dumb robots, and how the dumb robots are like the best ones because they never break down.
Yeah.
So there's like some of that stuff going on too. But yeah, it's really good.
It's comforting and somewhat frustrating because, like, a lot of times I deal with, you know, this is what largely I talk about on this podcast, I think, is just things that have annoyed me and taken way more time than they really seem like they should. And,
yeah,
you know, like, don't get me started on Adobe Illustrator. But it's good to see that, you know, it kind of, there's like this vision that he's got this ridiculously high-tech thing going on, and it's like he probably spent 6 hours trying to get a robot to, you know, turn the right angle or something. It's just, I don't know. We think we're in like a really sophisticated manufacturing era, and a lot of it is just still like, like snail's pace slow to set up.
Yeah, he was talking about how like the assembly lines, like he wants the assembly lines just to move faster. They're like moving at under 1 mile per hour, like through the line. And you know, some of these robots are crazy though, like picking up cars and lifting them to other places. and he was talking about them, and he's like, MKBHD asked like how accurate like the repeatable motions are. Like, is it like within an inch? Is it within like a few inches? And he was like, no, these like there's like these humongous robots are within like 0.1 millimeter accuracy every single time, the exact same place, and they're like, you know, looks like a transformer or something, like just lifting cars around.
Yeah. Wow.
And they're like, he's like walking through this thing, which I think is funny. And he's like, there's people working, and Elon Musk is like, oh, sorry to interrupt. And it's like, I mean, you own all of this, but
he's supposed to be on Joe Rogan's podcast. I thought he actually was supposed to have already been on it, so I don't know if it's being edited or what. And those usually, go like a while, so
yeah,
that'd be good to see.
There were a few notable things that he said, though, that I wanted to point out and maybe talk about. So one of the things he said was that, I don't know how official this is, but he wants to get a Tesla down to $25,000 in 3 years. Did you hear him say that?
Yeah, I like that. I heard that. And so this is like some of MKBHD's questions kind of seemed like just kind of odd and like almost as if he hasn't been following Tesla too closely. And I think he has been, right? Like it seemed like he was not even super sure about like the master plan and things. Like he was asking questions about that.
Yeah, I did think that was weird, because there is a phase 2 master plan like on the Tesla blog that he didn't like. He was saying the master plan is complete, right? And he was like, oh, well, there's like phase one is complete, but
yeah, I was like, surely you know that, MKBHD, but I don't know, maybe he's busy with a lot of stuff. And
yeah, for
the $25,000 one, like Elon has definitely said explicitly at some point that $35,000 is the cheapest they intend to go, and that cheaper is just going to come from you being able to rent your car to the fleet so that it can basically act as a taxi, with self-driving.
Well, he specifically noted like economies of scale, like the more people buy the Model 3, the cheaper like assembly and manufacturing will be. So I think he's talking like pure like economics. He thinks that it sounded like the Model 3 could get to $25,000 just if they like maybe sell like, I don't know, like 10 times, 100 times more cars. But like compared to like a Ford or like a Chevy, Tesla's making basically no cars. So if they can get up to that level, like we could have Teslas like the price of or cheaper than like a Prius.
So Steve Jobs at some point said, like, we just don't know how to make $1,000 computer, or like a computer for less than $1,000, and they still technically really haven't. But inflation, and I'm not actually. And I always have to think, is that helping or hurting, right? So like in a while, $25,000 is even less, right? So that hurts, right? And so if like 10 years they make a $25,000 Tesla, that would be extra impressive, because that's like even less money in 2018 dollars.
Yeah, he specifically says 3 years though, which I thought it was surprising. Him giving, I mean, I guess he's always giving dates and missing them, but him giving 3 years $25,000 is very specific. Like he's like there's like data to back that up.
Yeah, I don't know, I guess we'll see. But Apple, they kind of have an under $1,000 computer, and that's the iPad, and that's sort of what they consider to be maybe the future of computers. So,
yeah,
I don't know if there's some analogy to draw there with Tesla, but he's said pretty confidently that they weren't, and now I think maybe he's like, yeah, well, it could, but I wouldn't like hold my breath.
Yeah, I mean, I guarantee, like a Prius would, like if somebody were to just start making a Prius without all of the other like things that Toyota's got going on, it would be much more expensive. Like he talks about how Tesla's only making one car at a time, and then something like Ford or Toyota's making like 15 cars at a time. Once you're at that scale, everything becomes cheaper. Like the same reason why like virtual reality was impossible, just because it was like so expensive 15 years ago. But then cell phones come around, and like accelerometers and cameras and all these things are like in everybody's hands. So it automatically goes from like basically nobody having these things to like 75% of America having one in their pocket, all of a sudden these accelerometers are like a fraction of the cost they used to be. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
smaller scale than that, but it's a similar idea. But I don't know. I guess we'll see. The last thing that I thought was interesting was, have you heard of track mode? I haven't heard of this.
Yeah.
So we were talking a few weeks ago about like Apple, they should like allow super users to have these like settings to mess with, even if they are like risk messing up their phone in some way. Which is kind of what this is. He talks about, your brakes will wear down faster, you might blow a circuit, but we're giving you the option to basically tweak all the little settings in a Tesla to do whatever it is you want it to do, which I thought was really cool.
It is. And so also, I don't know if you know, but if you, this is how ridiculous Tesla is. If you have a P100D, with like Ludacris, right? Which is I think $10,000, like on top of the P100D, I think you pay $10,000 for the Ludacris, like sensor and just better components and stuff like that. So it's crazy expensive. But if you use that, like you activate it by going to like the Easter egg menu or by, doing the Easter egg in the first place. And it does this cool little goofy like warp speed animation. But then it says, like, warning, this might reduce your car's lifespan or something like that. And it sounds like this, like, what's funny is it feels like it's this legal notification, but then at the bottom, your options are like, yes, please, or no, mama, I'm scared. So it's like, it almost feels like corporate for a second, and then it's like, oh, okay, we're just messing around here. But yeah, so you've had the option of kind of like vetoing that for a little while.
Yeah, it's like a lawyer wrote the first half, and then just like, some guy just wrote the second half.
Yeah, probably Elon himself. Wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
So some good transitions here because you mentioned virtual or augmented reality. And I just want to give a quick mention that the Magic Leap 1, I know whatever the developer edition thing is out, like, and people have it. And for me, like, I don't know if you would kind of follow it around with Magic Leap, but for the longest time, like 3 years solid, there was zero information. And then just like a month ago, or I don't know, maybe it was longer than that, but they had a like prototype. Well, no, I guess the final product. They showed like pictures of it, and they basically said nothing else. It was just like, here's what it will physically look like. And now, just like a week ago, people have, like, developers have actual, working things in their own possession, working Magic Leaps. And they seem pretty cool. I don't know. Have you seen any of the videos?
Yeah, I think I watched The Verge did like a first hands or like a review or something of it. It looks really cool. I like was vaguely aware of like, which I guess they didn't really have a lot of information out, but there's like some company called Magic Leap like doing crazy things, like raising tons and tons of money. But yeah, it looks really cool. It's like a smaller HoloLens. They say it's really great. It's been a while since I watched that review, so I don't remember. I know that there were a few downsides, one of them being field of view, which is going to be the issue, but that's just like that's the short-term problem. The difficult part of this is the augmented reality. It's just like a price thing, the field of view. So,
Yeah,
it looks really, really cool though.
it's a little sad to see it kind of materialize because it is essentially, basically like a lot better version of a HoloLens, right? Because they've just poured money into this thing. The big thing that I don't think HoloLens did this, is like occlusion. So if something rolls behind, like, so it's constantly scanning the environment, right? And if something rolls behind like a chair or whatever, the digital thing that is imposed actually gets obscured by the chair or whatever.
Yeah, that's really cool. I remember in The Verge, they like have like a robot or something on the ground, and they're like walking around a table, and it goes in and out, which is which is really cool. I think this is like something you'd have to like use it to see, but I'm worried. I'm wondering how transparent the images are. Like the cool thing about augmented reality is that it could be, there's like a spectrum from 0 to 100 of becoming virtual reality at whatever point you want it to, which would make virtual reality kind of obsolete once, augmented reality gets cheap enough. But like if the augmented reality is like transparent, it kind of defeats the whole purpose. So I'm just curious.
I wonder if well, probably not, because I guess there is a limited field of view. But I was just gonna say, I wonder if like you could straight up use a Magic Leap as just a virtual reality headset and not, incorporate, just basically cover the entire real world with digital stuff, and then just use it as a VR headset. But I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like that either should be or is the goal. But just like because of price and just technology and batteries, just not quite there yet.
Yeah. But there's not like too much on it yet. I'm excited to see where like actual developers go with this. Always skeptical a little bit with the VR and the AR stuff, because it's like, I don't know. What's the thing that has most blown you away about any of it yet so far, Gil? Has anything blown you away?
About the Magic Leap or just about the field in general?
Just like AR or VR altogether.
I've used some VR stuff that's really blown me away. I haven't seen any like applications that make it like you need to have aside from games, but just like the experiential stuff and the games alone, I think is enough to make it worth it. I would really like one. And the times that I have used it, it's like really like you forget you're in virtual reality in like a couple seconds, and then once you have your hands in the environment, you just kind of like know how to do things. It's not like a game where you have to think like, okay, triangle is jump, whatever is X. It's just like you're just doing it, and it's really cool. But I haven't seen any applications that's like revolutionary.
Yeah, it would be interesting. Just remove the tiny bit of cognitive load that it is to like. I mean, you build up some really impressive muscle memory, so I don't know how much it helps, but at some point, the difference between like press X to jump and actually jumping, I think probably just feels a lot better. And I don't know. For me, it's been pretty much exclusively. I mean, I've seen some interesting stuff, and if you want to count like what Snapchat's just doing with their filters, like that's pretty interesting. But the thing that has been most like intriguing to me has been Space Pirate Trainer, which is just like almost a mini game, which like, I don't know how many like full games are there for virtual reality even. Not just, I mean, there's games that like are virtual reality compatible and therefore like full games, but like how many full games developed just for virtual reality? So I think Space Pirate Trainer is about as close as you get to like a full dedicated VR game right now, but it is pretty awesome. You get really immersed. It's kind of pretty much just an arcade shooter, but it is like a great time, and you do kind of, it almost doesn't matter how realistic it is, just that you are immersed in it, because it's decently realistic, but like, is it photorealistic? No, but does it matter? Not that much.
When everything's like that, it's just like you get used to it very quickly. There's a game called Hover Junkers I have never played, but I've watched a lot of gameplay of it. And you're basically like, it's like the apocalypse, and everybody's like finding parts and building ships, and kind of like, it's just like an apocalyptic kind of game, and it's like a shooter. But like they focus very heavily on the like shooting, like the aiming physics and things like that. And it's built just for VR. It looks really, really cool. But there, like you said, there's not very many games that do that. But I want like a Westworld in virtual reality, like what, not Westworld exactly, but like experiences like that, like a World of Warcraft or like a Westworld or something like that, so where you're just exploring a world, or maybe experience like Apollo 11 or whatever it is. Those things I think are going to be really cool, but it's just too expensive, and you have to also have like a several $1,000 computer to run it once you get the equipment.
It's coming.
Yep. There's the Oculus Go. I haven't watched a whole lot of stuff about, but that's like inside out tracking, right?
I don't know.
Yeah. Once they nail down inside out tracking and like making like battery life last, and it's all like a single unit that doesn't need to be tethered to a computer or anything else, but also hits like the $300 price point, and then I think it'll be a lot more popular.
I'm not sure. What is inside out tracking?
So there's outside in tracking. I don't know if it's called that, but it sounds like it would be. But that's where you have like cameras like around the room, and you have maybe infrared lights on the headset. So it's from the outside in, it's seeing where you are in 3D space. But inside out tracking is everything's contained in the headset, and it's tracking the room around you with no additional like no QR codes or no, I guess that would be considered it, but that's just not practical. But there are no markers like around the room. So you can just go anywhere and put a headset on, and you can be tracked in 3D space, like up, down, left, right, walk around. You can do everything. That's really difficult to do, but that's the goal.
Okay, so this will maybe be like part one of talking about flags, because there's a lot. So just to give a sneak peek of, I guess, kind of what's coming. We've got state flag redesigns. We've got Earth flag different designs that have come across. I'm trying to find my notes right now because I have it listed. Okay, we've got ranked flags from the North American Vexillological Society. And so, Gil, what we decided, where do we want to start on?
Let's start on the Earth flag.
Part of this is just, I want to kind of, actually, okay, I'll send you two. So one is a design project that I don't completely know, but it's like, it's got its own website, and I'm pretty sure it was just like someone's college design project. But it's like kind of up there in recognition as like a flag of Earth kind of thing.
Oh, okay. I have seen this.
Yeah. So it's like a decent amount of people have seen this. It's like pretty popular. And so there's that one. And then let me find for you the other flag of Earth that I really like and was posted to Reddit like 4 years ago. Oh, look, I'm finding other cool ones. Okay. This is the one that so this is 6 years ago by a person that actually is now a YouTube guy called like Helios or something like that, who's like making space stuff. But so this is his, or possibly hers, her flag of Earth, and I really like this one.
I've seen this as an image. Like I used to have this as my wallpaper on my phone. But
yeah,
I didn't know that this was meant to be a flag.
Yeah, well, if you go to the link, he or she went just all out, because there's like a let me link to the imager here. Imager. There's like one for every like progressive colonization of the solar system and eventually like galaxy. So there's like the imager. I hate how they spelled their website.
I think it's just imager.
Yeah, I think it is, but it doesn't read like that.
Oh, this one's Earth.
And then this is the same person who did, but just flags for each planet that's kind of in the same theme.
Okay, I do like this as a flag.
What, the planet ones?
Yeah.
I just like it because, it abstracts it. I mean, is it symbolic? I mean, obviously those things stand for things. It's just, the thing about a flag of Earth is that you're going to have so much controversy that like you might as well just roll with one that's pretty good and generally accepted.
Yeah.
And I kind of like where this one went, because so the idea here is on the original one, I think, right? So the sun is just kind of balancing it by being white, but then everything else is grayed out except for the Earth and then the moon. And that's presumably because we've been to the moon. And then if you look at that link to the rest of the progression of like colonizing and expanding out into the solar system, you see new things start to light up as we kind of get there. So I like it because it kind of is easily able to adapt to just moving forward. And it's got a good look to it.
I like this because it implies that we're going to go to more than just Earth. But
yeah,
like you said, though, it's very, literal symbolism. It's just two circles, one for Earth, one for Moon. At least I'm assuming this is the Earth one. Yeah, I do like these. I feel like they need to be all zoomed into a different piece. Like maybe collectively they make up these different sections, but like all these tiny circles, if you get more than like a block away from a flag, it's just going to look like a bunch of dots. So like if you're like more zoomed in to like the one that you sent that's just Earth, but then have something different. So there's one on here for when we get to Mars, and there's 2 moons, and it like has something like that. The blue background, I'm not sure how I feel about. Like I feel like if you're going to do symbolism somewhere, maybe do it in the color of the background, like the color of the flag, and maybe that could be different for every planet. But yeah, I think that there's something here. Like if you did a zoomed in version of Mars with a red background, but collectively when you put them all together, it makes up this solar system. Kind of like he's got here for the year 2204 when we've conquered the whole solar system.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something here though that's really cool, but it gets really busy really fast.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough to do, like I said. I think that, well, so the blue probably is like, I imagine, water, or otherwise it might just be kind of arbitrarily chosen, or sky color maybe. So I don't hate the blue, and then to keep it consistent. I think he even commented though, like he's not super serious about those planet designs. It's just like he whipped those up really quickly, or she.
Yeah.
So I generally like it.
It's only relevant to Earth though. So if we're moving on to other planets and solar systems, and like it immediately breaks down.
Yeah, but it's homage to the pale blue dot and the blue marble.
Yeah.
Which is I don't know. You kind of got to stretch. The other thing that I want to bring attention to is the possibility. So, okay, 2 things. One, the whole point of a flag is for recognition, right? Like, I feel like there has to be another entity for there to be a flag of Earth. I'm not sure it really makes, I mean, as like a unity thing, I guess, but technically the flag's purpose is to be recognized by non-Earth people.
Yeah. Well, whenever you think about like, no, when you think about like the differences in like populations, there's like, your household has like this special kind of thing going on, then your neighborhood, then your city, then your state, then your country. But it all breaks down at then your planet, because this is the only planet that we know of with life on it. So yeah. I think you're right. You do need another layer for you to like kind of be on the team of Earth, because if that's the only team, and then who really cares?
Yeah.
But in like, a few hundred years, maybe when we have a few colonies on Mars, I think we could justify an Earth flag and a Mars flag.
Well, so here's my analogy. Let's say we don't really visit Mars much, maybe like briefly, but we colonize the moon. Okay? And then we create like a flag of Earth, right? So now that makes sense because, the moon is almost independent basically, right? So then flag of Earth is so that the moon, there's multiple players, right? And then say that we would colonize Mars. Now it becomes a situation like what the British had with the United States, right? Or with just the Americas, I guess, in general, where it's like, okay, we have this flag to differentiate us from other countries in existence, like the moon or whatever. Or in Britain's case, I don't know, like France and stuff. Uh, but then if we would colonize Mars, it would be like we claim this in the name of like Earth, right? And then, Mars rebels, Mars gets its own flag, and the whole process kind of repeats itself over on a grander scheme.
Yeah. I feel like that's exactly what would happen, because as soon as a generation is born on another planet and they're completely foreign to Earth, they're not going to have, like, they'll have the same relationship that we have to Britain as Americans now, which is like, essentially zero.
Mm-hmm. The other thing, I don't know if this was intentional, because this particular flag, the other one that I sent, which is that kind of more known flag of Earth, looks to be pretty standard sized. This one seems to be wide.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's intentional, but I do believe that, like, I don't know what it would be, but if you're designing a flag that largely will be in space, I feel like maybe it should probably not be the general shape of the flags that have current flag shape is optimized for like wind flapping. And so I feel like there's benefits to possibly like taking advantage of lower gravity, or maybe a different shape altogether, or different proportions.
Yeah, but I think the shape of the flag, it's like 1 by 1.9, is what makes it a flag. Like when you see a flag that's like a pennant, you're like, that's not a real flag.
Tell that to Ohio, Gil.
When I see this, I guess that's why, like I said, I've had this as my like wallpaper before, because it looks like it's like 16 by 9 just image.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like a flag.
Like a screensaver. Yeah, I could see that. I think it probably took that aspect ratio just as a result of the planets.
Yeah, probably.
Because they're probably to scale. Well, no, they're not to scale.
They're not,
but
yeah.
They are like smaller ones, and then the gas giants are bigger, so.
Yeah. I like this one. So I like the first one that you sent with the rings. I think that one makes more sense for just Earth. And if you would have shown me just this first one, I would have liked, or this first one with the rings versus the first image you sent of just the Earth flag. I would have liked the rings better. But I like the other one more now, because it does imply colonizing other planets, whereas there's no room for growth in this other one. In the rings, there's no way to like make a similar style planet flag, but for Mars.
Yeah, and I think the rings, if I remember correctly, they symbolize the continents. But
yeah, it's like the continents, and then obviously the blue is for the ocean. I think the like rings are supposed to be like, we're all joined by some common thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm also just bored by this one, and I see like. It's like I guess GE, that like little H symbol thing that they have as their logo.
Yeah.
It looks a lot like that to me, or maybe like the Ford logo, and just very corporate cold flag.
Yeah. Somebody needs to put like a flaggy flag filter on this other one though, and then I think we'll be good.
There you go. I have to make sure to link to flaggy flag.
Yeah. But you've been busy designing flags.
Yeah, you want us to talk about the flags a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me send those over here.
So this one's Saturn?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I like this one. Like, black's not really a color you see on a flag, but I think it works really well here. And then there's like, you talked about this in the Two Tims Talking podcast, but like the hexagon being kind of like it's just a symbol that's naturally occurring on Saturn at one of the poles. And obviously the rings. I like this one a lot.
Yeah, I mean, this is like I said, it's literally if you took a picture of Saturn at that particular spot, and then just kind of simplified it. So not a lot of symbolism at all going on here, but I think it makes a pretty clean looking and distinct flag for Saturn. And it was based kind of on something someone else had posted. So
yeah, and I think you could translate a similar style to other planets.
Yeah, it'd be cool actually to do a whole all the planets in this style. I might. Ooh, that'd be cool. I might have to go do that.
We'll do that in part B.
Yeah. Although it loses a little something if it doesn't have rings, right? So it's like, I don't know. It'd still be all right.
Yeah. But yeah, I think there's maybe other things you could do. I don't know. Like maybe Earth doesn't have to be just like the planet itself. Maybe there could be some symbolism around the atmosphere since it's kind of the what allows life and all that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You're going to have some trouble with Neptune. But
Yeah. Yeah, a few might end up looking similar, but
yeah.
do we want to talk about the United States flag that you did?
Yeah. Yeah, I can post that here too. So that's 50, 51, and 55 star variants.
55 looks the best.
Yeah, it does. It looks especially great if I don't do that fan thing, but the fan thing only looks good. Like the fan pattern in the stars doesn't really look good without the full 55. So went with the fan pattern because it also has sort of like a firework or rocket exhaust style to it. And then the Canton, the blue part, becomes like the Earth itself. So
yeah, I like this one a lot. Like you had a lot of variants, so it's hard to pick which one was my favorite. I think my problem with this one was the second to last red stripe has like a really sharp point to it on the left.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I like this a whole lot though. Especially the 55, like I said. Have you seen like the 49 star state flag or like American flag?
No, I don't know. What is that?
It's just kind of weird because we've done it before where we've had to like realign the stars. It's like the border is like all lined up and then the inner stars are like not so much.
Oh. Yeah, that's pretty weird. That was pretty brief though too, right? Because the difference between Hawaii and Alaska was not a whole lot.
Yeah. Hold on, I'm trying to pull it up. But I think what I'm trying to say is what you have here is like more adaptable to where you're not completely changing the layout. Mm-hmm. You're just kind of shifting that last row.
Yeah. I actually really like the 48 star flag because it was just a perfect grid of stars, and I don't know. I guess there's some character in the staggering that we have now, but I don't know. I was pretty happy with not like I was around for it, but the nice grid of 48 stars is pretty clean.
You remember those days?
Good old days.
Yeah.
Pearl Harbor era.
But what compelled you to make the U.S. flag? Just browsing vexillology. How do you say it? Vexillological?
Vexillology.
Anyways, what was it that compelled you to? And you spent like a long time and lots of iterations on these.
Yeah, vexillology. There's a lol in it, but it kind of turned into its own thing. I started out just like messing around a little bit, but then I was like, oh, maybe we can like do a legitimate attempt at a redesign here. And so, at some point I was trying to show like division of the Democrats and the Republicans, and that didn't really come across in the final version here. I found out like this fan pattern kind of looks cool and has like a symbolism in the fireworky look to it, and it's just kind of fun. But the biggest point I think was like make it adaptable to more states. Like that was the original thing that I had written down. I was like, oh, could I make a flag that easily adapts to additional states and just doesn't cause controversy on adding a new one? Like, because there's already enough controversy. So can we reduce that a little bit with a flag that updates easily? And so this is kind of what I came up with. And then bonus is that it sort of acts as a new kind of like, so I call it New Worlds, right? Because the Earth is almost represented in this. And then of course there's you can tack on some other shapes pretty easily that then represent the Moon and Mars. So I'll put that one in here too.
Did you play around with like kind of vertically centering that blue, kind of the way you have for Saturn.
Yeah, some people had suggested that. I think some flags have done that before, and I don't know. I didn't do too much because it was a lot of to get to the point here, but
I guess the star pattern would get weird once you
yeah,
start doing that too.
it starts to be a little strange, and it's less like a canton like in the corner if it's just across the whole left side.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it could work, but I really didn't go that direction too hard. I think it's too foreign at that point, and it's already pretty foreign as is, so.
Yeah. But it's like, it's different enough that it looks, I guess, modern. I don't know if that's even a good word to use for a flag, but like it's good in, like it's close enough that it's like very identifiable. It's very clearly the American flag.
Yeah.
Which is more adaptable.
Yeah, and it just kind of symbolizes, oh, okay, we're ready to expand. We can add states. We can add planets, new worlds. And, of course, so America was the new world at one point. So it's like this is a play on that, and it also contrasts the current flag variant, which is Old Glory. So now we've got new worlds. And,
oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I like how the name worked out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do we want to do any kind of closer?
I like to kind of just end it.